Ladies and gentlemen, it's not my intention to wrap all the ideas, all the remarks, but first of all, I would like to thank you all. I attended in many different conferences throughout my career, but this one was definitely one of the better ones. And this because you participated in the discussion, you answered important questions, and these were the ingredients to make this conference a success. So thank you, first of all, to you all. But what is on the to-do list for ACT? I think we understood and we shared the understanding resilience is the first line of defense, and we will only survive in a collaborative effort, starting from the local communities, going into the country, and then perhaps in the bigger environment, if it's NATO or EU. But I think it's important to share this understanding, and I'm grateful that even from the civilian side, this approach is supported. Of course, one takeaway for us is that the 7 baselines are the driving factor for the future. Okay, we can elaborate a little bit more in detail. Perhaps we can discuss if it's necessary to add the one or the other. But nevertheless, it's finally depends on an agreement, as Jonathan said truly this morning, on 29. We can think about if this approach will lead in the future, because currently in the EU there is a discussion ongoing if always an unanimous decision is the right way for the future. Next point, training and exercises. And I can tell you this is a special focus of ACT. We can't see any future exercise without experimentation, wargaming, and testing of interaction. So we have to convince our operators, because they are trained to give a good performance. But from General Natter's perspective, and I totally agree, training and exercises should be used in the future, especially to exercise the failure, which we in the military environment normally are not used to do. There was a question, what is the civilian side expecting from the military? I would turn it around. What is the military expecting from the civilian side? To be very frank, I can't see a future without the support of civilian industry. I think this is lessons learned from the past. In the past, we were in a comfortable situation, Cold War, only focus on one direction. The defense industry pretty much influenced the development in the civilian industry. But I think you agree, a couple of years ago, it changed. The civilian industry is now much more influencing military development, and we have to accept this. I have personal experience in the cooperation with the non-defense industry. I was responsible for the redeployment of German armed forces material from Afghanistan, and I must say it worked pretty well. We worked together with a Russian-Ukrainian company when we used the SALIS contract, and we worked together with a Danish shipyard. So I think it's a lot of room for improvement, but therefore I think we have to come together and to think about our policies and procedures. I agree, NATO loves policies, NATO needs procedures, but I think we can learn from the civilian how to do better. And I think that's important and the way ahead, and I encourage especially the industry to join us. A big topic is interoperability, and with a special focus on communication. And we are working on this issue already for a couple of decades, but we didn't achieve a real final result. But without doubt, when we are cooperating with partners, non-military partners, we have to manage this communication issue. Of course, I think lessons learned is that military has to accept that we are not sitting always or that we are not have to sit always in the driver's seat, especially when we are talking about cooperation in areas we are not used to operate. Peacetime regulations and speed up. I think this is really important, and it was mentioned in several discussions. Peacetime is a time for preparation for crisis and war. We should consider this, and we have to adapt these regulations. Of course, it will lead to difficult discussions, but we have to explain, especially to our political leaders, what will happen if we don't have the right regulations in place in case of crisis and war. Finally, I think we have to revitalize, and it was mentioned in many recommendations and comments, what got lost after the Cold War. When we are talking about host nation support, I sometimes get the impression that I, after 47 years in service, are an old-fashioned guy talking from things which our battalion's commanders are not aware about, because most of them were born after the Cold War, and now they are in the responsibility, and we didn't train host nation support over decades. It's important to bring this to the attention in our exercises. Classification. I think it starts in each single office. If you are using your mail account, there's a wonderful topic, classification. And the majority is classifying the papers from the very beginning. I think what General Hickman said, SFA is ACT's effort to declassify information. It's a publication which is well received, put together with many civilian organizations, and I think this is the way ahead. We should carefully think about what needs to be classified, and in an era of big data, it's a real important question, and what should be classified. And I think we should spend more time on this. Language, of course. In the civilian environment, you are experts. You are using your special language, as we do in the military environment. And I think what Michael was saying, hybrid. Everybody has a special understanding about hybrid, or looking on cyber. I never forget, NATO started the discussion on cyber in the Prague summit already in 2002. And it took us only 14 years to claim cyber as a domain. So this is, I think, a perfect example that with using the wrong terms, we will have a problem to share common understanding. Building trust. I'm in between. I'm a little bit upset because after 70 years in NATO, we are talking about building trust. Is this real the approach we should consider? And I think it's an all-hands adventure. Sharing on information, and I once again agree, has limits. But sharing no information will definitely hamper us to make the necessary progress and the necessary preparation for crisis and war. Of course, we should think about new formats. We should think about new procedures and processes, especially when we are talking about to speed up and to get the speed of relevance. And a short comment to the discussion about lawyers. My personal experience is really good lawyers, and I think the mayor will accept this, make everything happen. And my last comment is, we have to agree, we have to accept risk. If the civilian side is in lead or the military side is in lead, you will never achieve 100% risk-freeness. And I think that's important to understand. We are talking about disaster relief, flooding, or war. So thank you very much. On behalf of General Anata, first of all, I would thank you for attending this conference. I would like to thank the Mayor of Norfolk and his team, but as well the ACT team in the background, especially these guys in the backgrounds. They are responsible for making such a conference happen. Thank you very much, and we are looking forward to the next conference, maybe in 2 years. And finally, I wish you a good and safe trip home. Thank you very much.